So if you've paid any attention at all lately with what's been going on with Michigan insurance reform, or if you've gotten your latest auto insurance renewal, you know that as of July 1st, 2020, for the first time ever, you and I now have a choice when it comes to how much medical coverage we want or we need if we or an immediate member of our family are injured in a car accident. And a lot of people, a lot of Michiganders are really happy about it, and probably rightly so, because of all the drivers in the country, Michigan drivers have had some of the highest insurance premiums out there. And it's because for the last 40 years or so, Michigan drivers have had one choice when it came to medical coverage, or it's called personal injury protection limits on their auto policy. The only choice we had before was unlimited coverage. And honestly, that's actually a blessing and a curse, because it's definitely the gold standard in personal injury protection and covers pretty much everything. But it also obviously comes with the highest price tag. So a lot of people didn't like being forced or locked into that. Well, as of July 1st, all of that changed, leaving nearly 10 million people with a big decision to make. It's actually a decision that can have huge repercussions if we're not careful or not wise about it. So a lot of people are wondering what they should do. And before I get into it, here's a big disclaimer, something I want you to know right away. This is something that you're going to want to pay attention to, because you're going to want to make a choice on this. You might not need to, but you're going to want to. And I say that because nearly everything that I'm about to talk about as far as cost savings and lower limits doesn't just happen automatically. In fact, if you don't do anything and you don't make an active choice, either because it's confusing or maybe you just forgot about it, you're going to be renewed with the default limits, which means you still are going to have the higher cost unlimited medical or personal injury protection coverage. And you'll automatically have the new higher bodily limits, which I'll talk about in a minute. So that's what happens if you don't do anything or if you ignore it. So if you don't want unlimited medical coverage, you have to opt in and either choose 500,000, 250, or opt out altogether. So I hope that makes sense, and you can see why I'm making this video, because I'm going to try to make some sense of it for you. So let's get into it and let's see the most important stuff first. So essentially, the biggest change to Michigan auto insurance has to do with medical coverage, which is on your policy. It's listed as personal injury protection, or PIP. So like I said, before we only had one choice. Now as of July 1st, we have four choices. Number one, unlimited coverage. This is what you have now by law if you haven't done anything already. Number two, you can bump that down from unlimited to 500,000. Then the third option is to cut that in half and go down to 250,000. So last option is to opt out entirely. So here are your choices: unlimited, 500,000, 250,000, and opt out. Those are the four choices, and all of them have different cost savings to them. And I know there's a lot of people who have medical insurance through work who in theory are going to be thinking, man, I just want the biggest savings. I want the biggest cost savings I have, and I already have medical insurance, so I'm just going to opt out entirely. And while that seems like a logical assumption, I want to warn against that, or at least want to give you some things to think about before you do, because you could be setting yourself up for some expensive bills that you wouldn't have had to pay had you not opted out entirely. And if you don't have medical insurance, this is even more important. Because even though it's tempting to get more money in your wallet, money you might definitely need, you need to remember something. If you don't have medical insurance through work or somewhere else, that personal injury protection on your auto policy is the only protection you have against catastrophic medical bills if you're injured in an accident. Situations like that are exactly why I'm making this video, and why I consider it to be the three most important things to consider as you make your choice. Number one, if you decide to opt out entirely, you're going to pay out of pocket for any and all deductibles, co-pays, and co-insurance for you and your family if you or they are injured in an accident. If you don't opt out and you keep even the minimum coverage, your auto insurance pays for all that, all the above, and you'll have nothing out of pocket. So I'll give you a personal example from my own situation. I called and talked to my health insurance company, and for me, in the specific plan I chose, if I opted out and I were to get into an accident, I would pay my personal health insurance deductible of $1,000, and then I'd owe 20% co-insurance up to a max of $2,000. So if I'm seriously hurt and it's just me in the car, it's going to cost me up to $3,000 for that accident. That's not to mention any ongoing medical costs year after year related to that same accident. Things like prescriptions and doctors' co-pays, specialists, even surgeries. So if it was serious enough, I could be paying thousands of dollars every year, depending on the type of rehabilitation or surgery, basically for aftercare. Those are the individual limits for every family member on my plan. Now, if my wife or my kids were in the car, we'd be responsible for the costs up to the family maximum, which is a deductible of $2,000 and a co-insurance of up to $4,000. So that means if all six of my family members are seriously injured, it could cost up to $6,000 every year between deductibles and co-insurance if I opted out entirely from medical coverage on my auto policy. Huge disclaimer here, right? This is my personal policy for my family. Your plan might be different, so call your health insurance company to make sure. So then take whatever they tell you and plug in your numbers into the scenario that I just gave you. But I think you get the point, and hopefully this might even give some insight. Now, if you decide to keep medical coverage or personal injury protection on your auto policy, even if it's the lowest limit of $250,000, all of the above costs of your health insurance that you just plugged in, the co-pays, the deductibles, the co-insurance, all of that's 100% covered by your auto policy. Honestly, personally, to me, that makes it so worth it to not opt out. So number two, if you do opt out entirely, there's a chance that your health insurance company, they may not pay for some really important medical care after the accident. I'm talking about something totally different than doctors and specialists and all that. Things like long-term care, attendant care, home health care, home modifications like ramps or anything like that, paying salary for spouses or family who need to take care of you and can't work anymore because they need to stay home. It's these types of things that a lot of people don't think about paying for when they're looking at a few $100s of savings every year. And it can be catastrophic financially. So having some sort of medical coverage through your auto policy pays for all the above, even if your health insurance doesn't. Obviously, unlimited coverage means unlimited. That's exactly what it means. But even having $500,000 or $250,000, those can help tremendously in these areas. So anybody who's ever taken care of a parent or a family member knows how expensive long-term care can be, not to mention all that other stuff. Again, check with your personal plan as far as what they will and they will not cover. Number three, and this isn't so much of a warning as it is a bonus to let you know that any way you slice it, you will get some sort of savings, even if you do end up keeping unlimited. Because at its core, everyone in Michigan is now going to have lower MCCA fees per vehicle. Now, I'm sure you've seen those on your policy because they're expensive. That's the catastrophic coverage mandated by the state. Those fees are literally being cut in half, even if you don't make any changes. They used to be over $200 per vehicle, and now they're going down to $100 per vehicle per year. So if you have two cars in the houses, you should see savings of about $240 a year right there. The only caveat is that the state put out a new recommendation for bodily injury limits too. And don't confuse that with medical coverage or personal injury protection. This is bodily injury coverage, which is different. So personal injury protection covers you if your family or if you're hurt personally. Think personal. Bodily injury coverage covers other people if you hurt them and you're sued for injuring them in an accident. So the state moved it up to $250,000 per person and $500,000 per incident instead of the old $100 and $300. So I hope that makes sense. So that might eat into some of those cost savings. And by the way, if you don't choose those higher limits, you're going to need to sign off on it every year, basically acknowledging to the state that you know you have lower coverage than what they recommend. So just some things to keep in mind as you make your decision. So thanks for sticking with me this long. I hope to help clear up some of the muddy water out there. And in the end, here's what you need to do next to take action. Number one, subscribe so you don't miss any of these videos coming up in the future. Number two, personally call and talk to your health insurance company to see what your coverages are, because they can then send you a letter. They can document that you do have primary coverage through that company. Mine came within like 10 minutes of calling. Then shop around. Right? Talk to your auto insurance company, talk to an independent agent, get exact quotes for all four of the new options so that you can make the changes and lower your costs. Making those two calls can save a ton of time and a ton of money, ultimately a ton of headache. So thanks for sticking with me through the video. It's too important not to put this out there so that you at least have enough information to make a decision, whichever way it may be for you and your family. So I really hope this helps. So I'm curious, what do you think? All this stuff is so important. Everybody's situation is so different. So based on what you know and everything that I said, what do you think is best for you and your family? So leave a comment in the comments below. Let me know. I know what I'm doing. I know what I'm doing with 3 teenage daughters and after talking to my health insurance company, but what about you? So I'm kind of excited to see what other people think. Let me know in the comments. Thanks for watching. I'm looking forward to that discussion. So thanks for watching. Keep seeking him first in your life.